William TOSSES the camera. Royal Guard catches Camilla's assistant spying on Charlotte in garden. It was a bright spring morning at the Royal Gardens, and the air was filled with the soft fragrance of blooming flowers. Sunlight streamed through the tall trees, making the leaves glimmer like tiny green lanterns. The gardens were alive with color, pinks, yellows, purples, and whites forming intricate patterns in carefully tended flower beds. Birds chirped happily in the background, and the sound of a gentle fountain added a peaceful rhythm to the day. It was the kind of morning that seemed to belong in a painting, calm and full of life, almost untouched by the outside world. Princess Charlotte was in her element. Dressed in a light blue dress with little white lace trimmings, she ran barefoot along the winding garden paths, her laughter echoing like the soft ringing of tiny bells. Her small hands reached out to touch flowers, and occasionally she would stop to watch a butterfly flutter past her. For a child who usually lived in the spotlight of public attention, this private moment felt like pure freedom. Her nanny kept a watchful eye from a few steps behind, making sure she didn't trip on the cobblestones, while Charlotte's tiny golden curls bounced as she moved from flower to flower, completely unaware of the world beyond the garden walls. Nearby, William, Duke of Cambridge, walked along the edge of the garden, a rare smile softening his usually serious features. He enjoyed moments like these when his daughter could play freely, away from cameras, crowds, and the constant demands of public life. Watching Charlotte run, jump, and explore reminded him of the simple joys he had known as a child. For William, these quiet hours in the garden were precious, a time to relax and just be a father. As he strolled, he noticed how perfectly the morning seemed to hold its breath. The garden was serene, and the air was fresh, carrying the subtle scent of roses and freshly cut grass. William felt a sense of calm and contentment. For once, there was no need for speeches, no need for formal appearances, no need to smile at the press or carefully monitor who could get close to the family. This was just a father watching his daughter laugh, completely free and innocent, the way children should be. But even in moments of peace, William's senses remained alert. Years of being in the public eye, combined with the responsibilities of raising a young princess, had taught him that even a quiet garden could hold surprises. His eyes scanned the hedges, the paths, and the corners of the garden. Everything seemed normal at first, until he noticed something that made him pause. There, near one of the taller hedges, a figure moved with unusual caution. It was a woman dressed smartly, holding a small camera. At first glance, she looked like she belonged, a staff member perhaps, or someone checking the gardens for an upcoming event. But there was something in the way she moved, in the way she occasionally crouched and raised the camera toward Charlotte, that made William's instincts tingle. He had seen people try to capture unauthorized photographs before, and he knew that even the most careful steps could be risky if left unchecked. William slowed his pace, pretending to adjust his coat, all the while keeping the woman in sight. He noticed how her eyes darted quickly, almost nervously, toward Charlotte, then back to him. Something about her behavior did not sit right. She lingered just out of reach, behind a thick hedge, trying to remain unnoticed while focusing her camera on Charlotte. William's protective instincts sharpened instantly. His first thought was Charlotte's safety. She was too young to understand danger, too innocent to know that someone could be watching her secretly. The woman seemed to sense that she might be under observation. She shifted slightly, adjusting the camera, her movements betraying nervous energy. William could feel his heartbeat quicken, not in fear, but in readiness. He signaled discreetly with his eyes to a royal guard who had been walking nearby. The guard understood immediately, falling into a quiet position behind the woman, ready to intervene if necessary. William did not want to alarm Charlotte. He wanted the child to remain immersed in her play, completely unaware of the unfolding tension. As Charlotte twirled near a bed of tulips, William's mind raced. He considered the possibilities. Was this an innocent mistake? Was the woman simply trying to take photos for work, or was there a more deliberate intention? He knew the importance of staying calm, of observing carefully before taking any action. The guard's presence offered reassurance, but William stayed close, pretending to admire the roses while keeping the suspicious figure under watchful eyes. Time seemed to stretch. Every small movement the woman made drew William's attention. She crouched, focused her lens, then looked around, almost as if she were checking whether anyone had noticed. Each gesture told a story, subtle but clear. She was not supposed to be capturing these moments. William's concern grew, but he kept it controlled, using his experience to mask his alertness. Meanwhile, Charlotte continued to explore the garden, completely unaware of the tension building just a few feet away. She picked up a fallen flower, smelled it, and giggled when a small bee landed nearby. Her laughter was light and natural, echoing off the hedges, filling the space with the innocence of childhood. William's chest swelled with affection, and it made the sight of the lurking figure even more unacceptable. He could not allow anyone to intrude upon these moments, not even indirectly. The woman took another cautious step closer, raising the camera again. William's gaze sharpened. He realized that this was no longer about suspicion, it was about action. His mind calculated the safest way to handle the situation without causing a scene. He would protect Charlotte, ensure the garden remained a safe space, and involve the guard if necessary. But first, he needed to confirm her intentions clearly. He walked a few steps closer, making his presence subtly known, while keeping Charlotte distracted with a playful wave. The woman's eyes flicked toward him, and for a brief moment she froze. William noticed her hesitation, the slight falter in her movements, the way her grip on the camera tightened. She realized she had been seen, but she did not yet understand the consequences of her actions. William kept his posture relaxed, his face calm, but his voice was firm when he finally spoke, addressing the woman without alarming Charlotte. "Excuse me, may I ask what you are doing?" His tone was polite but carried an unmistakable authority. The woman's face paled slightly. She seemed unsure of what to say, fumbling with words that never quite formed. William had caught her in the act. As he stood there observing, he felt a mixture of frustration and relief. Frustration that someone had tried to intrude upon this private moment, and relief that he had noticed it in time. The guard, sensing the tension, moved a step closer, positioning himself discreetly behind the woman. William knew that if the situation escalated, intervention would be swift and professional. Charlotte, still unaware of the drama, skipped along the path, stopping to watch a butterfly land on a flower. Her innocence highlighted the importance of what William was doing. Protecting her was not just about immediate safety. It was about preserving these moments of childhood joy, allowing her to grow without unnecessary intrusion or fear. Every parent in William's position would have understood the weight of responsibility he felt at that moment. The woman, realizing she could not continue unnoticed, finally lowered her camera slightly. Her eyes darted nervously between William and the guard. William's steady gaze made it clear that he was in control, that he would not allow any misstep. He remained calm, ensuring that Charlotte could continue to enjoy her morning while the potential threat was addressed. And so, the garden continued to bloom around them, filled with the sounds of birds, the scent of flowers, and the laughter of a child. Yet beneath the calm surface, a quiet tension lingered, a reminder that even in the most beautiful places, vigilance was necessary. William stayed close to Charlotte, ready to act if needed, but also cherishing the rare opportunity to simply watch his daughter play, protected and free. In those moments, the balance of serenity and alertness defined the morning. William's mind remained focused, his instincts sharp as he prepared for whatever came next. The bright day, the colorful flowers, and Charlotte's laughter were all part of a delicate scene that required both enjoyment and protection. A scene William was determined to safeguard at all costs. William's eyes never left the woman. She lingered near the hedge, glancing around nervously as if unsure whether to continue or retreat. Every small movement she made seemed calculated, careful, but in a way that betrayed her unease. William could feel the tension building in the air. It was subtle, almost invisible to anyone not paying attention, but to him, it was as clear as a warning bell. He had spent years learning to read people, to notice when something was out of place, and now all his instincts were alert. The woman shifted her weight from one foot to the other, adjusting the small camera in her hands. She peered through the viewfinder, then quickly lowered it when she noticed William's gaze. Her fingers trembled slightly, a sign of nervousness, but she tried to appear calm. William, however, could see through it. He had no doubt that she was trying to capture images she shouldn't, and that thought made his protective instincts flare. Charlotte was just a child, innocent and unaware, and the last thing she needed was someone spying on her. William walked a few steps closer, maintaining a casual demeanor, as if he were simply enjoying the garden. He didn't want to alarm Charlotte, who continued to run and play along the cobblestone paths, picking flowers and chasing butterflies. Her laughter was light and carefree, but to William, it sounded fragile, a reminder of the importance of keeping her safe. Every parent would understand the weight of that responsibility, the constant awareness that even the smallest oversight could put a child in harm's way. As he approached, William signaled subtly to the royal guard who had been shadowing the woman. The guard nodded ever so slightly, a silent acknowledgement that he understood. He remained a few steps behind, hidden from immediate view, ready to step in if necessary. William did not need to rush. He knew that remaining calm and observing carefully was more effective than confronting someone in haste. Patience and awareness were his allies in this situation. The woman's behavior grew more erratic as she noticed the guard's presence. She glanced over her shoulder, her eyes wide with anxiety, and quickly ducked behind the hedge for a moment, only to peek out again almost immediately. It was clear she was unsure how to proceed, and her hesitation confirmed William's suspicions. She was not there for innocent purposes. Otherwise, she would not have moved so cautiously or reacted so nervously. William's mind worked quickly. He considered the possible explanations for her actions. Perhaps she was trying to capture professional photographs without proper permission, or maybe she had been instructed to do so by someone else. Whatever the reason, the result was the same. Charlotte's privacy and safety were being threatened. He needed to handle the situation carefully, ensuring the child remained unaware while also preventing the woman from continuing. He continued walking, positioning himself between the woman and Charlotte in a way that seemed natural. He admired the roses briefly, adjusting his jacket as if lost in thought, all the while keeping her under careful observation. The garden was large, filled with winding paths, flower beds, and hidden corners, which made it perfect for a child to play safely, but also perfect for someone to hide. William could not allow that. The woman's movements were deliberate, but the sense of unease she carried was becoming increasingly obvious. Charlotte, still blissfully unaware, paused to examine a small bird perched on a branch. She crouched down to get a closer look, her tiny fingers barely moving as she observed the bird's delicate movements. William's heart softened at the sight, but the contrast between her innocence and the potential threat lurking nearby made him even more vigilant. He could not allow anything to ruin this moment of joy for her. The woman raised the camera again, her movements quick and jerky this time. William noticed how her fingers shook slightly as she tried to focus. She clearly felt the pressure of being watched, but she had not yet realized the full consequences of her actions. William's eyes narrowed, and he took a few more steps closer, still pretending to examine the garden. His presence was deliberate, calm, and authoritative. It sent a silent message. He was aware, he was observing, and he was prepared to act. He could see the woman's hesitation now turning into panic. She glanced at the guard again, her eyes wide, and for a brief moment she froze. William recognized that pause, the split second when someone realizes they have been caught. It was the moment where choices mattered the most. She could retreat, admit her mistake, or try to continue regardless. William knew he had to give her no opportunity to make the wrong decision. At that moment, the guard shifted slightly, moving a step closer to the woman while remaining discreet. William could see the fear in her eyes grow. Her hand tightened around the camera, and she raised it again instinctively, but then immediately lowered it when she met William's calm yet firm gaze. It was clear she was caught in a moment of indecision, uncertain how to proceed, and William knew it was the perfect time to assert control without creating a scene. He took another casual step forward, speaking in a calm but firm voice. "Excuse me, may I ask what you are doing?" The words were simple, polite, but carried a weight that demanded honesty. The woman froze, caught in the act, and her lips parted, trying to form an explanation that never came. William did not need to rush. He simply waited, his eyes steady on hers, allowing her to realize that there was no room for deception. Charlotte, still preoccupied with her exploration of the garden, had not noticed the growing tension. She picked up a fallen blossom and sniffed it, giggling softly at its delicate fragrance. William's eyes softened momentarily as he watched her, but the focus returned immediately to the woman. Protecting Charlotte was the priority. Nothing else mattered at that moment. The woman shifted, clearly flustered, and glanced toward the guard again. William noted how every movement revealed her inner state, anxiety, hesitation, and a growing sense of panic. He realized that she was trying to maintain control, but it was slipping through her fingers. Patience, observation, and a calm demeanor were working in his favor. William continued his careful approach. "It's important that everyone here respects privacy," he added, his voice steady but authoritative. The words were not meant to shame, but to set boundaries clearly. The woman seemed to understand, her shoulders slumping slightly as she lowered the camera further. There was no denying that her intentions had been noticed and that any continuation of her actions would not be tolerated. The guard moved subtly to the side, positioning himself to intervene if necessary, but still maintaining discretion. William was aware that too much overt action could alarm Charlotte, who remained happily oblivious to the tension just steps away. He kept his movements natural, blending into the garden scene while still asserting control over the situation. As the woman realized the gravity of her position, she finally raised her hands slightly in a gesture of surrender, and her face betrayed relief mixed with embarrassment. William could see that she had understood the message. She was no longer attempting to hide, no longer trying to continue unnoticed. The combination of his calm authority and the guard's discreet presence had effectively stopped her without creating panic. William allowed a brief pause, giving her a moment to regain composure. His focus remained on Charlotte, who continued to explore, laugh, and interact with the garden as if nothing unusual had occurred. The contrast between the child's innocence and the subtle tension nearby was striking, reinforcing the importance of vigilance and careful handling of the situation. In those quiet moments, William reflected on the responsibility of protecting those he loved. The garden, with its beauty and serenity, could easily hide threats if one were not attentive. Every parent could understand the balance required, allowing freedom and play while remaining vigilant for unseen dangers. He felt a renewed commitment to that balance, determined to ensure Charlotte's safety without diminishing her experience of joy and discovery. The woman finally lowered her gaze, seeming to accept the situation fully. William maintained a calm presence, giving her the opportunity to understand that her actions had consequences, but without making the moment unnecessarily dramatic. The guard remained close, ready to intervene if needed, but the tension began to ease slightly as the woman realized that further attempts to capture images would not be tolerated. Meanwhile, Charlotte twirled near a patch of daisies, completely unaware of the unfolding drama. Her laughter echoed through the garden, a reminder of the innocence William was determined to protect. Every careful step he had taken, every discreet signal to the guard, had been for her. It was a moment of quiet victory, ensuring that her play remained uninterrupted while addressing the potential threat efficiently and discreetly. The garden, bathed in sunlight, seemed to hold its breath for a moment. The tension was still present, but William's calm authority had restored a sense of control. He continued to watch Charlotte, ready to act at any sign of danger, but also allowing her the freedom to enjoy the beauty of the morning. The balance of vigilance and calm, protection and freedom defined this moment, a reminder of the responsibilities and joys of parenthood, even within the rarefied environment of the royal family. The garden had grown quieter as the morning moved forward, but an invisible tension lingered in the air. William's eyes remained fixed on the woman near the hedge. She had realized she could no longer act freely, but it was clear from the way she fidgeted and shifted her weight that she had not yet fully accepted her position. William understood this. He had seen this type of hesitation before, the split second when someone knows they have been caught, but is trying to figure out what to do next. That pause, however brief, could decide how the situation unfolded. Charlotte, blissfully unaware, continued to explore the garden. She had discovered a small patch of daisies near the fountain and was kneeling down to inspect them closely. She traced the edges of the petals with her tiny fingers and giggled as a gentle breeze made the flowers sway. The scene was picturesque, the sunlight catching her golden curls, her laughter carrying across the garden. To any outsider, it would have seemed like an ordinary, peaceful morning, but William knew better. He had seen the danger that could lurk in even the most innocent-seeming moments. The woman finally spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. I was just... Her words trailed off uncertain, as though she had hoped that continuing to mumble might somehow excuse her actions. William stepped a bit closer, maintaining a calm demeanor. He did not raise his voice because there was no need to alarm Charlotte. His presence alone carried authority. The subtle way he moved closer, his steady gaze, and the quiet signal to the guard were enough to convey that he was aware of her intentions and that they would not be tolerated. William's mind was alert. He weighed the possibilities carefully. Perhaps this was someone who had been given instructions they did not fully understand, or maybe it was an intentional attempt to photograph Charlotte without permission. Either way, the outcome could not be left to chance. He had to act, and he had to act now, but he also had to ensure that Charlotte remained completely unaware of the unfolding tension. Children were remarkably sensitive to emotions, and even a flicker of fear or anger could have reached her. That was something he could not allow. The guard moved slightly closer, keeping a discreet distance, ready to step in if needed. William noticed how the woman's hands trembled as she held the camera. Her attempts to act casual were failing. Every movement betrayed her nervousness. William recognized this clearly. The moment of truth had arrived. It was time for confrontation, but confrontation could be handled with composure. Calm authority was more powerful than anger or shouting. Charlotte had now found a small butterfly that had landed on a flower near her. She was fascinated by it, pointing and laughing softly as it moved its delicate wings. The sight of her made William's resolve stronger. He could not allow anyone to intrude on these moments. He stepped closer, positioning himself naturally between Charlotte and the woman, creating an invisible protective barrier. To anyone else, it might have looked like he was simply admiring the flowers, but the placement was deliberate. The woman raised the camera again, a brief instinctive movement, but then froze when she realized William was fully aware of her actions. His gaze was steady, unyielding, and calm, leaving no room for misinterpretation. William took a slow, measured step forward. "Excuse me," he said firmly yet politely. "Can you explain why you are pointing that camera at the child?" The woman's face paled. She lowered the camera immediately, her fingers gripping it too tightly. She stammered, unable to form a coherent explanation. Every instinct she had told her that she had been caught, and William's presence, combined with the guard nearby, made it impossible for her to continue without consequences. She realized that this was not a situation she could escape through charm or excuse. William continued to speak, his tone steady and deliberate. "It's very important that no one intrudes on private moments, especially with children. This garden is meant to be a safe place for her." His words were calm but carried unmistakable authority. The woman's eyes darted toward the guard, who maintained a discreet but firm presence. She understood now that she was under observation, that her actions were no longer secret, and that further attempts to take photographs would not be allowed. Charlotte, oblivious to the tension around her, clapped her hands softly as the butterfly flew away. She turned to examine a patch of tulips, kneeling down to touch the soft petals. William's gaze softened as he watched her, but he remained alert. His focus never wavered from the woman. She had to understand that her behavior was unacceptable, and the situation had to be controlled without frightening Charlotte. The woman seemed to realize that her position was precarious. Her shoulders slumped slightly, and the camera hung loosely in her hands. William saw the mixture of fear and embarrassment on her face. She knew she had been caught, and that there was no room for argument. The guard moved slightly, closing the distance just enough to subtly indicate that intervention would happen immediately if necessary. William's voice remained calm but firm. "Please put the camera away. There is no need for any further action here." He allowed a pause, giving her the opportunity to comply. The woman hesitated, then slowly lowered the camera completely. It was clear she had understood the gravity of the situation. William nodded subtly to the guard, signaling that the immediate threat had been neutralized. The woman took a deep breath, her hands still slightly shaking. William could see that she had realized she could not continue without consequences. He kept his posture relaxed, his expression calm, conveying authority without hostility. The tension began to ease slightly, though William remained vigilant. Protecting Charlotte meant ensuring that no further attempts could occur. Charlotte, still unaware of the drama unfolding just a few steps away, skipped along the cobblestone path toward a small fountain. She leaned over the edge to watch the water sparkle in the sunlight. Her laughter and movements were natural and carefree, highlighting the contrast between her innocence and the anxiety of the woman who had been caught. William's focus never wavered. This moment of joy for his daughter was what he was protecting. The woman finally spoke, her voice low and hesitant. I wasn't trying to cause trouble," she said, her tone a mix of explanation and apology. William listened, maintaining his calm demeanor. He did not need to respond immediately. The combination of his steady presence and the guard's position was enough to ensure compliance. He allowed her a brief moment to collect herself while keeping Charlotte's safety as the priority. William then moved slightly closer, ensuring that any remaining attempts to use the camera were impossible. "It's very important that everyone here respects the privacy and safety of the children," he said softly but firmly. The woman nodded, her hands now completely empty of the camera. It was clear that she understood. The guard took the camera from her, handling it carefully and professionally. William remained close to Charlotte, keeping her unaware of the confrontation. She had now discovered a patch of wildflowers and was crouching down, inspecting them with curiosity. Her laughter and focused attention on the flowers created a sharp contrast to the tension just steps away. William allowed himself a brief smile, grateful that she remained safe and unbothered. The woman was quietly escorted a few steps away by the guard, still looking nervous and embarrassed. William followed closely, maintaining a calm presence, ensuring that the situation remained under control. The garden, though still serene, now carried a subtle reminder that vigilance was always necessary, even in moments of peace. William allowed a few moments to pass before turning his attention fully back to Charlotte. She had now moved to the fountain, her hands playing in the cool water as she giggled. William's eyes softened as he watched her, appreciating the purity of her joy. He knew that the brief tension caused by the woman's actions could have disrupted this moment, but through careful observation, calm authority, and discreet action, he had preserved it. The morning continued, the sun rising higher in the sky, casting golden light across the garden. Birds sang, and the fountain sparkled, creating an atmosphere of beauty and tranquility. Yet beneath the surface, the quiet memory of the confrontation lingered, a reminder that even the most peaceful settings could hide threats. William remained vigilant, knowing that his role as a protector was never complete, but satisfied that Charlotte's mourning had remained uninterrupted. The woman, now escorted to a safe distance by the guard, seemed to finally accept the situation. William gave a subtle nod to the guard, signaling that the immediate confrontation had concluded. The camera had been confiscated, the intruder had been removed from the vicinity, and Charlotte's safety was no longer at risk. As he returned to Charlotte's side, William reflected briefly on the morning's events. He had acted decisively, calmly, and effectively, ensuring that the garden remained a safe space for his daughter. The balance between vigilance and allowing her freedom had been maintained. He knelt down beside her, picking a small daisy and handing it to her as if nothing had happened. Charlotte's eyes lit up, and she smiled, completely unaware of the tension that had just passed. William watched her for a moment longer, feeling a deep sense of relief and pride. He had protected what mattered most without disrupting her innocence. The garden, with its flowers, sunlight, and gentle sounds, returned fully to a place of peace, though William knew that vigilance was never truly over. Moments like this were precious, and it was his responsibility to ensure they remained safe and joyful for Charlotte. The garden, once filled with tension, slowly returned to its usual calm. The woman who had been caught with the camera had been quietly escorted away by the guard. William watched carefully as she disappeared beyond the hedges, her steps quick and nervous. For a moment, he allowed himself to relax, though only slightly. His attention immediately returned to Charlotte, who was happily exploring the fountain area, completely unaware of the events that had just occurred. Her laughter rang out, light and carefree, filling the air with a sense of innocence that William treasured. He knelt beside her, picking up a small, soft white daisy and handing it to her. Charlotte's face lit up with delight. "Thank you, Daddy," she said, her voice full of joy and curiosity. She twirled the flower in her fingers, examining it from every angle. To William, these moments were everything. Protecting her from harm was a duty he carried constantly, but being able to share peaceful, joyful experiences like this made it all worthwhile. William reflected on the morning's events, his mind analyzing every detail. He thought about how quickly the situation had developed, how subtle the signs of intrusion had been, and how important it was to remain calm and composed under pressure. The garden, with its winding paths and hidden corners, could easily hide danger if one was not vigilant. He had learned that even the most serene settings required awareness. A single lapse in attention could result in someone capturing images, violating privacy, or causing harm. He glanced toward the hedges where the woman had been standing, now empty and silent. The small camera had been removed, and the guard had taken control of the situation, but William knew that vigilance could not end there. Every visitor, every staff member, every seemingly innocent presence near Charlotte had to be observed carefully. It was not about mistrust. It was about protection, about ensuring that Charlotte could grow up in safety. As Charlotte continued to play, William allowed himself a moment of quiet reflection. He thought about how fleeting these moments of peace were. Life in the royal family came with constant attention, scrutiny, and obligations. Yet it was precisely these rare, private mornings in the garden that made all the challenges worthwhile. Watching Charlotte explore without fear, without worry, reminded him why he had committed to this level of responsibility. These moments, though ordinary in appearance, were precious beyond measure. William also considered the guard's role in the morning's events. The guard had acted with professionalism, moving discreetly and effectively to ensure the situation did not escalate. Their presence had been reassuring, a reminder that the palace staff were well-trained and capable. The trust he placed in the guard allowed him to focus on Charlotte, knowing that any potential threat was being managed. The teamwork between father and security had ensured a smooth resolution, and William silently acknowledged their efforts. Charlotte, now kneeling near a patch of tulips, was completely absorbed in her exploration. She reached out to touch the petals, giggling softly as a gentle breeze brushed against them. William smiled, seeing her joy and curiosity. He remembered his own childhood moments of discovery, and he felt a deep connection to these experiences. Protecting such innocence, allowing it to flourish without interruption, was one of his most important responsibilities. The morning sun climbed higher in the sky, casting warm, golden light over the garden. The birds continued to sing, the fountain sparkled, and the flowers swayed gently in the breeze. It was a perfect spring morning, a scene that seemed almost magical in its beauty. Yet William remained aware of the subtle lessons embedded in the day's events. Even in paradise, vigilance was essential. He could not allow complacency, for the safety and well-being of Charlotte depended on constant attention. He sat on a nearby bench, keeping a watchful eye on Charlotte while also allowing himself a brief moment to rest. He reflected on the nature of responsibility, especially the kind that comes with raising a child in the public eye. The balance between allowing freedom and ensuring safety was delicate and demanding. It required constant awareness, patience, and the ability to act decisively when necessary. William had demonstrated all of these qualities that morning, and he silently took note of the effectiveness of his approach. Charlotte, noticing a small butterfly land on a flower, jumped up excitedly and clapped her hands. She ran toward it, her movement carefree and unburdened by any awareness of danger. William's heart swelled with affection as he watched her. He thought about how fleeting childhood moments could be and how important it was to preserve them. The morning had reminded him of the delicate balance between joy and caution, and he felt grateful that he had been able to navigate the situation successfully. The woman who had been caught trying to take photos had been escorted safely out of the garden, and William considered the lessons learned from her presence. It was a reminder that not everyone had good intentions, even when they appeared calm or professional. Awareness and preparedness were crucial. He knew that security protocols might be reviewed and strengthened to prevent similar situations in the future. It was not a reflection of mistrust, but a necessary measure to protect the innocence and safety of those in his care. As he sat on the bench, William also thought about the emotional impact of the morning's events. The tension, though handled discreetly, had been real. It had tested his ability to remain composed under pressure while ensuring that Charlotte remained unaware and safe. Reflecting on this, he felt a sense of pride in his ability to manage the situation effectively. He had maintained control without disrupting the peace of the garden or alarming his daughter. Charlotte, meanwhile, had discovered a small puddle near the fountain and was playfully dipping her fingers into the water. She laughed as the ripples spread across the surface, completely absorbed in her exploration. William observed her, feeling a mixture of relief and joy. The incident with the woman had been resolved without incident, and Charlotte remained safe, happy, and unaware. These were the moments that made all the vigilance, caution, and responsibility worthwhile. He also considered the broader implications of the morning's events. The palace staff and security personnel had acted professionally and effectively, but the situation highlighted the need for constant attention. Even seemingly minor threats could escalate quickly if not addressed promptly. William understood that responsibility was ongoing and that vigilance could never be fully relaxed. Protecting Charlotte and ensuring her freedom to explore safely was a continuous commitment. William rose from the bench, moving closer to Charlotte as she continued her exploration. He knelt beside her, picking up a small blossom and handing it to her. "Look at this one," he said softly. Charlotte's eyes lit up as she examined the flower, her curiosity and joy evident in every gesture. William smiled, feeling a deep sense of satisfaction. The garden, once a place of tension, had returned to tranquility, and Charlotte's innocence remained intact. The morning continued, with the sun shining brightly and the garden alive with color and sound. William remained close, keeping a protective watch while allowing Charlotte the freedom to explore and enjoy the beauty around her. He reflected on the importance of balance, the balance between vigilance and letting go, between caution and allowing joy. It was a delicate equilibrium, but one that was essential for her well-being. As Charlotte discovered a small patch of wildflowers, William took a moment to appreciate the simple joys of the morning. The incident with the woman had been a reminder of the importance of awareness, but it had also reinforced the value of moments of peace and happiness. He knew that these moments were precious, and that protecting them was a responsibility he would carry at all times. The guard returned to a discreet distance, maintaining vigilance while allowing William to focus on Charlotte. The woman was no longer a threat, and the immediate danger had passed. William felt a sense of relief, but he remained alert, understanding that security and caution were ongoing duties. He watched Charlotte laugh and play, feeling a mixture of pride, love, and determination. As the morning drew on, William allowed Charlotte to rest on a bench, giving her a small drink of water and brushing a stray curl from her face. He reflected on the lessons of the morning, the importance of vigilance, the value of calm authority, and the need to protect innocence. He felt satisfied that he had acted effectively and discreetly, ensuring that Charlotte's morning remained joyful and uninterrupted. In that moment, the garden seemed more peaceful than ever. The sunlight sparkled on the fountain, the flowers swayed gently in the breeze, and Charlotte's laughter echoed softly. William remained close, vigilant yet relaxed, understanding that the balance between protection and freedom was essential. The morning had been a reminder of the responsibilities of parenthood, especially in the public eye, and he felt grateful for the opportunity to safeguard these precious moments. As Charlotte leaned against him, yawning slightly from the excitement of her morning, William held her close, feeling the warmth and comfort of the moment. The tension of the earlier confrontation had faded, replaced by a renewed sense of calm and contentment. He knew that the lessons learned that morning would guide him in the future, helping him to maintain the delicate balance between vigilance and allowing joy. The garden remained serene, filled with the sounds of nature and the laughter of a child. William knew that challenges would come again, but he also knew that he had handled this moment with care, ensuring that Charlotte's innocence and safety were preserved. The morning had been a reminder of the importance of protection, awareness, and love, and he felt a deep sense of fulfillment as he watched his daughter continue to explore and enjoy the world around her. The afternoon sun was now higher in the sky, casting a warm, golden light. Over the garden, everything seemed calm and peaceful. Birds chirped softly, the fountain sparkled in the sunlight, and the flowers swayed gently in the breeze. Yet beneath this calm, William remained quietly alert. The morning's events had reminded him that even in the most serene settings, vigilance was necessary. He had seen firsthand how quickly a situation could arise and how important it was to act with calm authority and precision. Charlotte, unaware of the subtle drama that had unfolded, continued her exploration of the garden. She ran from one flower bed to another, picking small blooms and giggling as she watched butterflies flit past. Her laughter was a constant melody, light and untroubled. William watched her closely, kneeling by a patch of tulips and occasionally helping her examine the delicate petals. The child's curiosity and innocence were a constant reminder of why these moments of freedom and joy were so precious. As he observed Charlotte, William reflected on the lessons of the day. The incident with the woman attempting to photograph his daughter had been a small but clear reminder of the responsibilities he carried. He was not just a father, he was a protector, a guardian, and a constant observer of the environment around him. Every step, every glance, every subtle movement could be crucial in ensuring Charlotte's safety. This awareness was not meant to create fear, but to preserve the peaceful and joyful moments of her childhood. William thought about how fleeting these moments truly were. Childhood passed quickly, even more so under the public eye. Every laugh, every discovery, every simple joy in the garden was worth protecting fiercely. He realized that the careful vigilance he exercised did not take away from Charlotte's freedom, but instead allowed it to flourish. By observing, guiding, and quietly intervening when necessary, he ensured that her world remained safe and bright. The guard remained nearby, a discreet presence that provided an extra layer of security without intruding on the peaceful atmosphere. William appreciated the professionalism and dedication of the staff. Their training, patience, and attentiveness allowed him to focus on Charlotte, knowing that any potential risks were being handled effectively. The teamwork between him and the guard was seamless, a silent partnership built on trust, vigilance, and experience. Charlotte had now discovered a small puddle near the edge of the fountain and was dipping her fingers into the water, watching the ripples spread across the surface. She laughed at the way the sunlight reflected off the water, creating tiny rainbows that danced around her. William smiled, feeling a deep sense of relief and joy. The morning's tension had passed, and his daughter remained unharmed and unaware of the subtle danger that had existed just hours before. As he knelt beside her, William considered the broader lessons of the day. He knew that public life came with constant scrutiny and unexpected challenges. Even in a private setting like the garden, there could be moments when vigilance was required. Yet he also understood that these challenges were not just obstacles. They were reminders of his duty, the importance of careful observation, and the value of calm, decisive action. He reached out and gently brushed a stray curl from Charlotte's face. "Do you want to see the roses over here?" he asked, guiding her toward a nearby flower bed. Charlotte nodded eagerly, her eyes bright with curiosity and excitement. Together, they moved slowly along the garden path, William maintaining a protective presence while allowing her to explore freely. The balance between safety and freedom was delicate, but it was one he had learned to maintain over time. William thought about the woman who had attempted to photograph Charlotte. She had been escorted away, her actions addressed discreetly and professionally, yet the incident had left a subtle mark on his awareness. It was a reminder that threats could appear in unexpected forms, and that preparation, calm judgment, and clear communication were essential. The morning had reinforced the importance of anticipating potential risks and acting promptly, all while maintaining composure and protecting innocence. Charlotte paused near a patch of daisies, crouching down to examine them carefully. She picked one, held it up to the sunlight, and smiled. William knelt beside her, pointing out a tiny ladybug crawling along the petal. Her laughter rang out, pure and untroubled, and William felt a wave of gratitude. Protecting these moments, ensuring they remained unspoiled, was the most important task he could undertake. The afternoon air carried the soft scent of flowers and fresh grass, mingling with the faint sound of the fountain's trickling water. The garden seemed to breathe with life and tranquility. William took a moment to reflect on how rare and valuable these moments truly were. In the midst of public attention, schedules, and responsibilities, such peaceful mornings with his daughter were treasures. The events of the morning had tested his vigilance, but they had also strengthened his understanding of his role as a protector. He observed Charlotte as she discovered a butterfly resting on a lavender flower. She approached slowly, careful not to frighten it, and watched in fascination as it gently moved its wings. William's heart swelled with affection. Her wonder at small things reminded him of the beauty of childhood and the importance of preserving these experiences. It was moments like this that made every precaution, every act of vigilance worthwhile. The guard remained at a discreet distance, ready to intervene if necessary, but largely observing from afar. William appreciated the professionalism and calm presence, knowing that the team worked seamlessly to ensure Charlotte's safety without intruding on her exploration. This balance of protection and freedom was essential, and William understood the value of teamwork in maintaining it. As Charlotte moved toward the fountain, splashing water gently with her hands, William reflected on the morning's tension once more. The woman had been caught in the act of photographing Charlotte without permission, and yet the situation had been resolved quietly and effectively. No harm had come to Charlotte, no fear had touched her day, and the garden remained a sanctuary of safety and joy. William felt a deep sense of accomplishment, not in confrontation, but in maintaining calm, control, and discretion. He allowed Charlotte a few more moments of playful exploration, then guided her toward a shady bench beneath a large tree. She sat down, picking up a small flower and holding it delicately in her hands. William knelt beside her, brushing a stray curl from her face and smiling. "You've had a busy morning," he said softly. Charlotte looked up, her eyes bright, and nodded enthusiastically, still unaware of the subtle challenges of the day. William thought about how important it was to preserve such innocence. The garden had been a setting of joy, discovery, and safety, and it remained so because of careful vigilance and calm intervention. Protecting childhood innocence required constant awareness, a readiness to act, and the ability to remain composed under pressure. The morning had demonstrated all of these qualities, reinforcing his role as a guardian. He watched Charlotte examine her flower, her curiosity endless. She giggled as a small butterfly landed nearby, completely fascinated by the tiny creature. William smiled, feeling a deep sense of fulfillment. The garden had returned fully to peace, the earlier tension forgotten by Charlotte, yet remembered by him as a reminder of the constant need for care, attention, and protection. The sun began to dip slightly in the sky, casting long shadows across the garden paths. William guided Charlotte slowly along the winding paths, pointing out different flowers, encouraging her to explore and ask questions. He remained close, attentive, and protective, ensuring that every moment of play remained safe and joyful. The balance of vigilance and freedom, safety and curiosity was delicate but essential. He reflected on the lessons of the day. The woman who had attempted to take unauthorized photographs had been handled discreetly and professionally. The incident had reinforced the importance of observation, patience, and calm action. William understood that threats could arise unexpectedly, even in peaceful settings, and that preparation, vigilance, and quiet authority were the keys to ensuring safety. Charlotte paused near the fountain one last time, watching the water sparkle in the sunlight. William knelt beside her, placing a hand gently on her shoulder. "It's almost time to go inside," he said softly. Charlotte nodded, still smiling, holding her small bouquet of flowers. She remained completely unaware of the tension that had existed earlier, her morning of play and exploration uninterrupted. William stood and offered his hand to Charlotte. As she took it, he felt a deep sense of gratitude and relief. The garden had been a place of beauty, learning, and joy, and it remained so because of vigilance, calm judgment, and careful action. He reflected on the delicate balance between allowing freedom and ensuring safety, understanding that both were equally important in preserving childhood innocence. As they walked back toward the palace, William glanced over the garden one last time. The sunlight danced across the flowers, the fountain sparkled, and birds sang in the trees. The day had been a reminder of the responsibilities he carried, the need for constant awareness, and the value of preserving moments of joy. Charlotte remained safe, happy, and unaware, and that was the greatest success of all. In the quiet of the garden, William felt a sense of fulfillment. The morning's events had tested his vigilance, reinforced his protective instincts, and highlighted the importance of calm authority and careful observation. The garden remained a sanctuary, a place of beauty, curiosity, and safety, and he had ensured that it stayed that way. He squeezed Charlotte's hand gently as they entered the palace, her laughter still echoing softly. The morning's tension had passed, replaced by peace, joy, and the quiet lessons learned. William knew that vigilance would always be part of his life, but he also knew that moments of happiness, safety, and innocence were worth every careful step he took to protect them.